Hey ladies, it's Charlie O and Lola, and we're the Shady Ladies. We're a couple of love coaches that love to sit on the patio, drink champagne, and talk about sex and love and relationships with no shame. We're here to help you to keep it exciting. Welcome to the patio today with the Shady Ladies. We have a lovely guest here today, Suez. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate having you. And we have a topic that we both can relate to today. We're talking about, I think I married a narcissist. We were talking not too long ago, and we had some common things about our past relationship. And so that's why I wanted to have you here today and talk about this a little more, because I'm realizing what a support system we need when you've been in such a destructive relationship with a narcissist. I mean, it really makes you think you're crazy, like you're the one crazy, but you're not. And so I appreciate you showing up today. I know it's not always easy to talk about this stuff and have it be put out there to the world, but also at the same time, it's going to help so many others. And that's why I still keep doing this. So welcome. Thank you so much. So there's some common traits. I don't know if you've done much research on this, but I've read quite a bit on it. I still keep learning new things every day, and maybe that's just because it shifts and changes and they learn new things about narcissists and their characteristics. But they have some of the common traits, or they have a grandiose sense of self-importance. Did you
I
see
agree.
that?
I have agreed. Yeah.
They
stems out of their insecurities.
Yes, exactly. And they have a preoccupation with fantasies of unlimited success. Did you have any experiences with that?
Of how it's talked about, and being in conversations where all of a sudden you're like, that's not what happened, and you can't question anything, because their truth is lies that they live every day, and they're so smart that they just kind of keep exaggerating on.
Yeah, they believe their lies. That's what.
Yeah.
They have their own lies, these grandiose concocted stories, usually are pretty elaborate, and they believe them, but they're the only ones believing them because you're there and you're like, that didn't happen, and that it wasn't like that. And I just remember thinking my husband was embellishing. At first I thought, oh, he's just kind of trying to tell a story to make it more interesting, so he's embellishing. And I went on like that for years and years, and then I'm like, okay. Then I just started getting sick of it because he was all about name dropping. It made him feel better about himself, right?
Yeah.
Aye. So those were my very first kind of little glimpses and awarenesses that something's off here, and it didn't sit true to me, real with me, because I really suck at lying.
So. I do too. I can't do it, and I can't even agree with it, or
me neither.
So I'm quiet. I don't argue about it. I just shut my mouth.
Yeah.
And then it feeds them.
Yes.
That feeds them even more.
Yeah. Yeah. They need us to
validate constantly.
Yeah. They need us to be loving, caring, more submissive, because that way they can feel bigger and more than,
Well, then what they do is they push you down and then they bring you back up. So there's this constant yo-yo or roller coaster of the highs and lows that they put you on.
Yeah. So for me, that was very, kind of came through the back door. There wasn't a lot of, obvious, overt putting me down. It was always subtle and in very subtle kind of coming through the back doorways. But yeah, I had the worst self-esteem when being married to him. And that was so crazy because I was 17 years.
Right. Well, they're so good at conversations. And I think what happens is they stack the events. So if you put 10 things in order, and then you put those 10 things in a different order, it totally changes the dynamics of that situation. So they can stack the truth or the lies in a different way and get their outcome and what they want from the conversation.
Yes. And oh my gosh. And they love the conversation about them. Everything is about them. I mean, it just, I know for me, it just got nauseating being in public, or around others, whether it be family or friends or neighbors or whatever it was. I mean, I just got nauseating listening to him talk about himself all the time and how great he is.
Exactly.
Honestly. And, so I would say it took me about 7 years once my eyes started opening to, oh, that's another thing. And that's another thing. And I didn't even know what a narcissist was at the time, but my mind was starting to, become more and more aware of what was happening and what just didn't feel comfortable with me anymore. And I definitely by the end, I would say the last full year, I didn't want to be in public with him. I didn't want to go anywhere in public with him because I'm like, holy hell, we're going to end up in another conversation. It's all going to be about him, how great he is. And he's going to name drop. And then, it's like not, oh, hey, we have a friend in common. No, name dropping is such a different thing. Name dropping is a way to say, I know someone influential so that lifts me up higher. That's different than be like, oh, hey, I know your neighbor was a friend from university or whatever. That's different. But yeah, it just got nauseating to watch and be around. I'm just like, I'm embarrassed of you.
Right. Well, they also repeat the same stories so that people can remember them. And I have a girlfriend still to this day that will tell a story. And I'm just like, that is so not true. But even they start believing it because you just slowly change it a little bit at a time. And then
until it becomes grander and grander.
Yes. Yes.
So I had this, I mean, I don't know where I got it, but I must have read it somewhere, but I read that it's more common for men to be narcissists than women, but it sounds like someone who is a female narcissist.
Very many though, and they're really hard to, it's taken me a long time to even see those characteristics because again, I think it starts with the dominating parent in a marriage and in a family, and that's usually a male, and then it gets passed down to a male as a narcissist. And then I think little girls in those situations, they become what am I looking for? Like passive aggressive and enablers and I'm blanking on the word that I'm trying to find in my head.
Yeah, it's well, either way, it's very unfortunate to have a friend or a spouse that is a narcissist. I had a friend that had some similarities that I would get triggered around her because she reminded me of my kid's dad. And it was, I noticed little subtlety things that I was being triggered. And, she was supposed to be a really good friend, and in a way she is, but now I see things a little differently. So I'm able to keep it in a safe space so that I'm not triggered, but I'm aware of what is going on, and what the friendship is, because it was kind of heartbreaking for a while, just like it was with my kid's dad. You put so much trust in these people, right?
Mhm.
And it's really very, very hard, very difficult to feel. I mean, you feel isolated, you feel alone, you feel betrayal, because they supposedly, to your face, they say they love you, they say, you know that they support you, those kind of things, but but they really don't. But
Right. Well, no, because they don't have the capacity. I feel like, I mean, I truly think like my husband, he truly loved me, and he just didn't have my husband.
I love that.
I don't,
I am gonna have to steal that. That is fantastic.
I stole
like
it from someone too. Yeah. I hate the word ex. I hate it. I don't like it at all. So
Yeah.
husband.
Perfect. That is fantastic. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. But so he would, now I lost my train of thought, but yes, I don't know, a couple different things. I guess I was back to a couple other things too. Like you have to choose if you want a healthy relationship, an unhealthy one, or no relationship. And most of the time, once you figure out that there's no healthy relationship to have, there's only one choice you have, and that's to have no relationship, and just set that boundary. And that's the only safest place that we can be versus in an unhealthy, tangled relationship with sick they are.
Yes. I know. After my divorce with my husband, I chose no relationship because I just needed to get clear,
Mm-hmm. Me too.
And because that relationship was so destructive that I needed some space. I needed to be in my own space and figure out, I mean, I already knew what was important to me, but it was just like my head was spinning, honestly.
Right. Well, kind of one of the things I've discovered too after another relationship is I think I do truly believe my husband and this former long-term relationship, I do believe they truly loved me. I don't think they had the capacity to be loved by someone else, because there was never that unconditional love that they received from their mother and the father in their relationships. And so that distracts them, and they're afraid to be loved because they're afraid of rejection and all the hurt. So all the layers and layers and layers of protection prevents them to even be loved by anyone.
Right. Yeah.
And they have surface relationships with so many people that they just go on to another relationship. It's whoever, like, out of sight, out of mind. They don't have any long-term good friends and no one that will hold them accountable, because they would just rather shut that person down and walk away. Like my husband right now, he has not talked to my twin daughters for a month over an argument. I mean, they've had so many significant things that have happened for them to be proud of. And they call me and how well they're doing on their nursing tests and their clinicals and all the excitement. And they're like, we're going to try calling dad. He doesn't answer. Like he literally has shut them down and not talked to them for a month.
So he's shutting them out because they had a disagreement.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just all about them,
all about them.
Oh, so, well, it's heartbreaking, and it's hard to watch your kids go through this. Like, you're like, okay, well, I know in my relationship, I'm going to take some ownership in that. And I'm deciding to change it, once you take responsibility for your part in it, but to watch the kids just be thrown around.
Right.
It's,
and it can turn into codependency. That's the word I was looking for before.
Yeah.
You can become very codependent because you're always trying to dance around and walk on eggshells around these people that,
Mhm.
you know, you become a people pleaser and you're looking to not cause a, you know, that hurt to happen to you,
Right.
which it does. I
Yeah.
mean, them getting shut down by their father is causing the same hurt that he experienced his whole growing up period. And he's still trying to make up for it. I mean, now he's buying his parents a car and paid off and bought their house and like all the things that he thinks. And at the end of the day, he's trying to please every single person around him on this earth, when I think the only person we can try to please every day is God.
Yeah.
And he's the one that has the grand plan for us.
Well, and you know, it's like, so they buy all this stuff. It's like they're trying to buy the love that because they feel empty, right?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
they really don't love themselves because of, you know, whatever happened in their childhood. But yeah, so I think that's why they do what they call love bombing, where, you know, they kind of shower you with this love to kind of catch you, right? Like get you on the hook. Because I've seen that pattern where it's really weird. You know, with my husband, there was this like grandiose gift kind of thing. And, you know, and it's when it was always in front of others, you know, there was always other people around to witness his amazing gift giving. Oh, what a wonderful husband he is. And I always felt embarrassed, like, why couldn't we just do this one-on-one? You know, it would feel more genuine that way.
Yeah, that brings back to like when my kids were little and we had Christmases with my ex-husband. My husband is he came out and is living a gay lifestyle. And so we were with his boyfriend and his entire family. And all of a sudden he was doing gifts from him and we were divorced, but it was a gift to the kids' college. So like $25,000, like here's money, $25,000 that I put towards their college. I don't know if it ever went there because it's not like we were together,
right?
But I don't understand. Yeah. The extent of it looks good.
Others, right?
Everyone. Yep. Yeah.
And, but isn't that sad how they just lure the kids in like that? You know?
Yeah.
I have a situation as well with my husband where there was a significant amount of money and it was promised to the kids for their education. And he spent it on a bad business debt and gave them nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, it's been such a, but he had to keep that hidden, right? And that he had that because his grandiose story to everyone is that, oh my gosh, I am so smart and wise about finances, real estate, stock market, all of this stuff. You should listen to me. I'm the guru. I mean, he even made a website about that. Talk about grandiose.
Exactly.
There's some proof right there.
Right.
As a website about that stuff. So, you know, one of the things that one of the common traits is that a sense of entitlement. I don't know if you had experienced that, but that is, it's just such a struggle because you're, you know, as the victim side of it, you're constantly shut down because they're perfect, they're entitled, it's their way or no way. And you know, what I look back on this now and I realize it is because I'm quiet and I'm a peacekeeper and I won't argue that, you know, he was able to get away with it for years.
Same. My husband traveled all the time and I didn't find out till way later that the person that replaced him in his job traveled about 20 to 25% of the time that he did. but I always supported it because I wasn't going to argue. And there was one time that he was caught in a lie because he told me one thing, and then I told a mutual friend of ours, and they're like, that's not true because that person is in Mexico and they are not in Florida. So I'm like, when God wants to reveal the truth, he reveals the truth in a big, huge way.
Wow.
And that's happened a couple different times where, it was like, well, I have to go meet with this recruiter because I support this family. I'm the breadwinner, and it's like, we're in Disney World celebrating our twin daughter's 5-year birthday, and you have to go off and meet with a recruiter. Weird. I'm like, but I didn't question it. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm here with my kids. We had fun. I supported and encouraged everything so that he, could be successful and feel good about himself.
Yes.
But then he was cheating and lying around me, and I didn't see it.
So was he unfaithful?
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, at least emotionally in a lot of different ways, for sure. I don't know if it was I can't prove anything. And honestly, I don't want to know. I, even to this day, I do not scratch around. I do not want to look at someone's phone. I mean, sometimes when people are on their phone a lot, I feel a little insecure, but I just pray for strength to not be nosy and not want to know what's going on. It's not really my business. And I'm not going to try to find out something that
Right.
I want to trust.
Exactly. And I've done the same thing. And I have just said that, if I'm supposed to know something, I will know it, and not from being nosy.
Exactly.
Just revealed to me, and I'll know it, and I will have the ability to withstand the struggle and the pain if that's the way it goes. But otherwise, I want that feeling of insecurity to go away unless I need to know something. And then I just, ask that it be revealed to me. And that's kind of worked for me. So I think
it has for me too.
Method. I honestly never was concerned that my husband was cheating on me. Just because, narcissists have, their image to others is huge.
Huge.
It is so massive and truly probably the highest priority for them, how they look at others. And so he always looked, everything looked perfect, right? Like perfect house, perfect kids, perfect white picket fence, perfect car, perfect job, looked perfect at church, just everything on the outside looked perfect. But meanwhile, I always called it a house of cards because I felt like everything was crumbling on the inside with the outside looking so good. And because I didn't tell anyone what was going on and what I had concerns about, and in the end, it killed the love that I had. So, but yeah, I didn't tell anyone, but that keeping up that image was so important. And I think that, I just didn't doubt that he would cheat on me. I didn't, but by the end I was like, oh, please go cheat, please, because it will be so easy just to walk away. Because that is what I did. I walked away. I couldn't anymore. And but I knew if he didn't cheat, then I was going to walk away either way. And then he was going to make me the bad one.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Exactly. And that's exactly what happens. And so many people say that they want everyone to know, we all want, them to physically cheat so we can, because it's an irreconcilable difference in a marriage.
Right.
Yeah.
I used to beg that he would cheat, not to his face, but you would just honestly pray, please let him do that so that he can just say, hey, I found someone, and then it will just be so easy. But
Exactly.
That story didn't happen, and I don't know if he did or he didn't. I didn't. He traveled a lot too, but I didn't feel like he did that, and especially by the end, I frankly wouldn't have cared and would have felt like it was a blessing. So,
Exactly.
um, one thing that can be really a common trait of a narcissist is explosive behavior. So I didn't really have that with my husband, but apparently when I was out running errands or something and he was home with the kids, apparently he did have that. So I'm finding out way later that he was like that with the kids, but he wasn't that way with me. So I don't know. Did you have any experiences where it's just sort of like, bottled up anger and it just explodes?
No, he really would never. I mean, he didn't even really swear. So that didn't really happen. I mean, the kids sometimes bring up like they remember us arguing, but I don't know that we ever argued. I just think probably we had disagreements that we, were trying to raise our voices around, but I don't remember ever really having these huge fights.
Yeah, that's interesting. So we were very much the same. It's so crazy interesting how parallel our relationships were, yours and mine, because we didn't fight either. I mean, I would say, I can think of maybe 2 arguments in 17 years. And but that being said, that's because we didn't communicate. There was no communication. I was shut down constantly. I was always shut down. I wasn't allowed to have a voice. I couldn't voice my opinions, concerns, my anger, and the anger was just because I was shushed all the time. That's what I call it. I was constantly being shushed. And I couldn't have a voice. And so one time I did lose it because it had affected my kids in a way. And I did kind of lose it on him, but that was within the last, I would say,
At the end,
6 months. Yeah. Before the end. And there's another common trait that narcissists have is a lack of empathy. And so obscure. It's I have to really dig deep for this one, for myself, because on the outside, they look like they care so much. They spin this web in this story, like they're all that, and oh, look how caring, and they really only care about, your best interests or the kids' best interests, and it's all about, the family or this relationship, and oh, they're the victim in it.
Well, I think so many times too, like in dating, I feel like they come in so hot and heavy, and they're so about like adoring you and treating you well, so that it's part of the package, and then they slowly pull away. Exactly. And we all remember like how they, like so many people, how they made me feel, and that was so important. And then at the end, they just cut you off. I've gotten a breakup text. I've gotten a breakup email. I'm like, what just happened? And then, I get these weird, like insecure things like of messages. And all of a sudden, somehow, somewhere down the line, I find out, oh, there was someone else. And I'm just like, I just would never do that to someone. Like, if, I don't know, kind of my philosophy in dating is if I'm going to have a second date with someone, I don't even want to go on a first date with someone else. Like, I don't want to be out like, oh, let me see how managing all these dates and seeing who the best one is. I just won't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm honest. I text someone, or if I've talked to them on the phone, I will call them and say, I'm sorry, I can't go on a date with you next week because I met someone that I really want to spend more time with and get to know. And, I don't want to lead you on in any way.
Right. Sure. No, that's, it's
honest.
Yeah. Honesty.
How I want to be treated. I want to be treated like that.
Exactly.
Great if you met someone else. I'm so happy for you.
Yeah. And the thing is, but this is the thing, like the more I read and dive deeper into this, narcissists need people like us. They need
They do.
who are honest, sincere, you know, caring, because that's, so now I realize they're stealing your energy. They need it.
Yes.
They need
Yep.
people like us who will be like that and be like, oh, they're not really that way. And, they need us. They're really sucking the life out of us.
Exactly.
Because I remember one time the kid's dad and for instance, my dad was quite a man's man, strong and can do anything kind of thing. And then when I met my kid's dad, he was so very different. He seemed loving, caring. He seemed family oriented. Like he could cry if there was something sensitive, right? Like he seemed like that. And so, that was attractive to me at the time. And I realized one time, so at our church, in that particular faith, once a month, they get up in front of the whole congregation and they bear their testimony, is what they call it. So they talk about, an experience that strengthened their faith. And, it seems great, right? You only go if you feel prompted, and, you're not expected to do it. But if you feel prompted, you get up and you go to the pulpit and you get in front of the mic and you in front of the whole congregation and you share this, whatever story or whatever that strengthened your faith. Well, he gets up there. He'd done it a few times, and he's up there and he's crying. And I'm just like, I'm looking at him and I'm like, I don't feel it. There's no heart. Like, I don't feel it. Like, I'm a very heart person, like very heart centered. And I can feel heart energy very easy. And I just would watch him. I'm like watching a movie.
Right, exactly. And you're like, I'm not in this movie.
It's just like, how are you being so sensitive like that? And yet I don't feel any heart in it.
Right.
It's like,
right.
It's a show.
They're such good actors.
They're
such good actors. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the star of their own movie.
I know. And you know what is so funny? So years later, I found out from my kids. So my husband, we don't speak. After the parting, it was amicable. But then I realized later that I had been so suppressed and shushed for so many years that the anger slowly boiled up when I was in a safe place to allow it to do that. So I had a lot of anger coming up towards this man. And I kind of forgot where I was going with that, but I know. So I found out years later through my kids that he is an actor. He's literally going to these things to be an actor. I thought, well, that's very fitting. That fits him perfectly because he can kind of, fake that shit, It's just
right.
So, I love talking about, these, for instances, this is common traits of these narcissists because, your head starts spinning. You're like, is it them? Is it me? It feels like it's me. Or no, it feels like it's them, but it looks like it's me because they're telling me it's me. Like
but that's how great of actors they are.
Yeah. So, another common trait is lack of intimacy. So their relationships that they're in, they're all tools, whether it's a friendship, a coworker relationship, or a marriage, or a very significant relationship. You're the tool. You're the tool that they need. And so there is a lack of intimacy. And, I realized, I would say that I left the marriage because there was just no love left. There wasn't anything fulfilling in it because that's the lack of intimacy.
Yeah.
Nothing was intimate, nothing. We were just sort of robots. He did his thing, I did my thing, I cared for.
Because they were too afraid of that.
Yep.
They were too afraid of the rejection when they got too close. Because growing up, I know, I mean, I've known my husband since I was 10. We grew up together. So I saw his family. I saw how he grew up. I saw how he was treated. So again, you're trying to prevent that from happening all the time. So you can't get intimately close because you're too afraid of being rejected.
It's so sad. I mean,
So sad.
It really blows my mind that to think that we navigate and steer our lives all around avoiding rejection in life.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just turning around, instead of running from it, right? Turning your back to it and running, you turn around, you plant your feet, you face it, and you get rejected. Whoa, is it the end of the world? No.
Right.
But yet,
right. But when they get rejected, they build a layer because that's how it's how they were as a little child. Because
yes.
a child doesn't have those escape. They don't have mechanisms. They don't have tools to protect themselves. So they do it through, kind of this grandiose thing. You put yourself on a pedestal and, you have this person outside of yourself that you're protecting and then you're idolizing.
Yeah.
So you idolize that person outside of yourself so you don't have to feel those feelings.
Yeah. You like make a story up,
Yep.
You get in it and believe it like it's true.
Yep.
But they're the only one in it.
I know. Exactly.
It's crazy.
I know.
Oh my gosh. It blows my mind. And I appreciate you coming on because I really haven't had anyone to really talk this through. Read numerous things, but and there are awarenesses and ahas for myself, but I really haven't had anyone to kind of talk about this who has experienced this. I mean, of course, after we divorced, there were several people who said, oh yeah, I don't know why you waited so long, or I don't know what took you so long, or those kind of things. Like they could see it, but they never shared it with me. And then we kind of never discussed it again, and I just sort of had to work through all of the sort of dismantling this thought of what I thought my marriage was, our relationship was, parenting together, which was never happened, honestly. I had to just work through it myself, and it was very clunky, and so I definitely appreciate you coming on today. This has been so wonderful, but
I think we should do a part 2 because I have a handful of friends that can add to this, and it could be therapeutic for them as well.
I love it. And that is why I'm doing this. And so, for instance, like how long were you married, for example?
I was in a relationship for 20 years. We dated for 2 years, then lived together for 6, married for 12. And now we've been divorced almost 14, 13. So I've been divorced now longer than I was married.
Okay. Gotcha.
But then I was in a relationship with a man for 18 months, broke up for 18 months. And then I gave him another chance and we spent another 18 months together.
Oh, goodness.
And so that's been really painful to untangle from.
So the healing process, how long would you say it has taken you to really get in a good, comfortable space, healing from a narcissist?
I mean, I think personally, I feel like I'm in a good place, but in a relationship, I'm not sure if I'm there yet, and maybe that's the hesitant of, and I don't know if it's something that I give off or say, because I'm totally honest. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. Or I just keep attracting the wrong type of person that is, kind of narcissistic and they're just fine. I don't know. So yeah, that's the one thing that I want to make sure that I'm fully healed when I'm in my next intimate, longer term relationship. I want to make sure that I'm doing well.
Yeah, absolutely.
That I've healed well.
So that's important. It's so important to nurture yourself and to, self-care and self-love and doing things that fill you up from an emotional level, because it's pretty devastating, being in relationships. And so I shared a book with you that I read. It's goodness, let me pull up the name so I don't slaughter it.
No, you just sent it to me too. I was looking, I can look it up too. I'm gonna download it. So the covert
Passive Aggressive Narcissist by Debbie Mirza. Yeah.
Okay.
And she reads it. And she's a therapist. I'm going to apologize right off the bat. I don't know quite how she helps others, but she is a therapist of some sort. So sorry about that. I don't have her credentials here, but anyway, this book is amazing. And she talks about that they are always liars. And that's hard for me to hear. Like, so I can feel I have some triggers that they're liars, because you don't want to believe that about them. I mean, anyway, so that's what's coming up for me, and that your body is a barometer and will always tell you the truth. And so, that was very reassuring to me, that, because I am sensitive enough that I can listen to my body and listen to my heart and know what I'm feeling and sensing. And I kept pushing it away and pushing it away, because I'm like, no, this is working. This is good. This is fine. And so anyway, I love that she says that, and it will always tell you the truth. And she says in her book, there is a way to find out the truth. So like, if you're questioning, if you're with a narcissist, you're, because we don't want to believe it, right? I mean, we've got an image of someone, and we want to, you've had time with this person, you've trusted them. And so, sorry, we have car noises. We are on the patio.
Right.
But she said there's one telltale sign that she found through her clients is how, if you can tell you're in a relationship with a narcissist or not. The secret decoder is sex.
Wow.
So this was very, very interesting and very eye-opening. I already knew, so I didn't need this, but I loved this tool that she has, because it really helps the layers. There's layers, and it, new things will come up and come out as I feel more and more safe to let them come up and come out. So she said that it's common to feel confused and wonder if you're the one that's crazy or if it's them, because they are so confident in their lies, like completely confident. And she says that there is a pattern is so she asked her clients, she says, how did you feel before sex? Because that's the love bombing phase, she calls it. How did you feel during sex? And how did you feel after sex? And she wants you to describe in detail, each of these points. And so it helps you, I guess, to really sort of demystify this relationship. And then she says, when did the sex start to feel different? Do you have any experiences with this, or have you ever even contemplated?
I haven't even thought about it, but now you made me kind of start thinking through some of these relationships, because I mean, kind of like, I feel like, in some of the past relationships, they adore you, they treat you so well that, it brings those endorphins in, that you want that intimacy and you want to have sex with them.
Right.
But then, when they just walk away without having any empathy, you're like, I just feel used. And, I felt guilty. I'm like, oh my gosh, they got what they wanted. Now, like, all this stuff goes through your mind, and you believe everything they say. And I'm like, I have, mean, the last person, I mean, he was so eloquently written, and the things that he would say, I was like, I was all in again.
Yeah.
But they're master manipulators, master actors. They're, you know, they know what they need to say to get what they want.
It's just heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking
Yes.
that we fall for this, but at least we come through it stronger. So there is light at the end of the tunnel for sure. So you know, my husband and I, we were, together for 17 years, and we met, and he just seemed like to fit what I was looking for, right? He seemed to fit.
Mhm.
So it didn't take long. We got married within the year, I think 9 months later. But we knew kind of instantly. And then we both knew supposedly. And then, had kids right away, which is what I wanted. Sorry, we got more patio noise.
Oh.
Golf carts going by. But and in the beginning, I just, it fit my needs. So I'm going to own all that. But, because I wanted a family, and it just,
Right.
and obviously you got to have sex to have kids. And so it just all kind of worked out. But then I remember after several years, and I was still having kids at that point, but I realized, and I can't remember how old I was, but I remember thinking, well, this is kind of a one-way show here, because
Mhm.
I just lay there, and then he does his thing, and then I'm feeling empty, by the end. Like, it's not, there's what's in it for me. And so I think it starts a spiral where you're like, I mean, I have sex. I know you want it, but it doesn't do anything for me. I'm not getting anything out of it. So why are we doing this? And so then, then women start using it over their heads to manipulate, right? To get what they want,
Mhm.
because that's what he wants. And so you got this tug of war and this, power struggle. And, I kind of see it happening in relationships, but I didn't want it to be like that. And so then I would give in and whatever, and then I would get what I wanted. I used it for that. I started using it for that because, it wasn't pleasurable, but not only that, forget the pleasure. It felt empty.
Mhm.
It felt empty with a narcissist. That's different. It's different than being with someone that you love and you don't climax, whatever. Big deal. If you feel connected in your relationship, women get, just as much out of that as they do climaxing. So, women don't have to have an orgasm every time, but I just remember feeling empty. It was like, I'm being used here, and that's what I remember. And I didn't see it.
Right. Well, I just felt so lonely in some of these relationships. I felt so lonely sleeping in the same bed as this person. And it's just like, where is the intimacy? Why are you, because that men need and want sex.
Right.
And if they don't want it with you and you're, so then I felt insecure, like, oh, they're just tired, or, their back hurts, or this, that, you know what I mean? Like, there was all these different things. And then I was nervous about and insecure about initiating sex because I didn't want to get rejected.
Right. Well, and it's not very natural for women to initiate it, really. I mean,
right.
Just innately, women desire to be chased, and men desire to chase.
So exactly.
It's not natural to, want to initiate it, but sometimes we can be flirty and playful, right? And kind of let them know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Lights on, kind of thing. And so my situation is, he was always on. Green light was always on for him, and he always wanted it. And even after babies. So I had my son, and the doctor says no sex for 6 weeks, right? Let her heal, that kind of thing. I mean, her body has to heal. he insisted. After a month, he insisted. And so I laid there, felt basically raped, honestly. And you know, while my body isn't healed, I'm, you know, you're nursing a baby, you're doing all these things, and I still had, you know, other kids to take care of. And I was just like, boy, I'm just a tool here. I'm just getting used. And and I felt, which was crazy looking back, but I really felt like I had to do that for him, to please him.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because he was really forceful and angry about it if you didn't get it. And I remember after doing that, I didn't feel any better after I gave in. And note to self, right there, note to self, that will never happen again. I will not be used or taken advantage of, and I won't be used in that way. That's gonna happen again. I'm one and done.
Yeah.
So I remember, so then,
Well, now you're in a great relationship, so you can be so grateful and thankful for that. Your husband is adorable.
yes, and thank God the baby making years are over. But
Exactly.
I had another situation after, this was years later, and I had my youngest, and I had other kids I was obviously taking care of, and literally everything. I mean, I did all the errands, all the budget, all the house, the yard. I did it all. All he did was go to work and come home. That's it. That's all he did. And so anyway, so when he wanted sex, it was very hard. I was exhausted. I would tuck my kids into bed, because he didn't ever do that, and he never read them stories at night. So I tucked my kids into bed, read them stories, and I would be curled up in the toddler bed with them
falling asleep.
Yep.
Yep, exactly.
I was so tired. But I remember one time he came to me and wanted sex, and I didn't want it. I mean, I had nothing left to give, right? I was just exhausted. And he's like, "You're gonna make me cheat on you. You know, you're gonna make me, you know, I want sex, and you're giving it to me. You're gonna make me cheat on you, you know." And I was just like, whoa, holy cow.
Right.
Seriously, like, can't you go masturbate or something?
Right.
You need to relieve yourself or whatever. But why is it my fault that you're gonna be unfaithful? Just
right.
I'm already exhausted. Like, it just never was about me. It was always about him. I never. So then here I am, loving, doting wife. I'm trying to wear all the hats, right? I'm trying to do everything and even please him. And it's just still not enough. Like, holy hell, how much more can I do to keep pleasing and keep pleasing and keep pleasing? And it's still not enough. Now he throws that in my face that he's going to cheat on me.
Right. That makes me feel really secure in this relationship and really intimate and wanting to have an intimate relationship with you. How about, you know what, get to go to bed early. Like, you know, let me help you. What can I help you do tomorrow to make, you know, they're so unaware.
Yeah. Oblivious. Narcissists are so crazy. So in Debbie's book, I want to point this out. This was like, whoa, I had to stop reading. I had to put it down, put the book down, and just digest this. This was huge. So if you look up what vocal cords are, like what it looks like the anatomy, it'll, you know, show it online. Obviously, you can just Google it. But if you look at vocal cords and a live shot of what they are, it looks like a vulva.
Oh, really?
With a vaginal opening. It looks so much like that you're just like, holy cow, I almost wouldn't have known, except you type it in, obviously. So it's crazy. It looks just like a vulva with that opening. And she says that in her book, Debbie says that this is where narcissists control you. And this is where I had to put the book down, because I was shushed so much in my marriage that in my whole life. And actually, and I realized I was shushed as a kid too. So I'm pretty sure
Mhm.
I haven't even dove into that one yet, but I'm pretty sure my dad was a narcissist. So I was shushed so much as a kid, but I was shushed so much for 17 years in my marriage and was not allowed to speak. That I was just like, whoa, holy cow, that's where they control you. Like
Mhm.
the two openings.
Oh my God. That's so fascinating.
It is very fascinating, and she's
Kind of a, and we're such communicative individuals. Like we
yes,
need words of affirmation and all that kind of stuff. So to have that kind of analogy is really
right,
interesting.
isn't it? And yeah, because we need
Yeah.
to be heard. Women have such a sense of, needing to be heard and to be understood, and we can't be understood if we're not heard. And so yeah, so these narcissists, they just shut that down, just completely shut that down. And so literally I had to stop. I had to just put the book down and say, I have to process this, because that was so eye-opening for me. And I like how she points out, like, your spirit gets worn down with these people. And so
Mhm.
um that is so strong for me, that um why I'm here, why I keep showing up for this, because I don't want others to suffer alone. I feel like
Same.
I suffered through it alone. I worked through my healing process alone. I didn't know where to go, who to turn to. Um, you know, in the divorce, I was 100% on my own. He concocted all of these stories and lies about me. And, later seeing that that's what they do. They have to have a whole smear campaign about you, you know,
Mhm.
and so that they're kind of the victim, so that they can get people on their side, to then to point out how awful you are. And this book was so much validation for me, because that was 100% what was happening. I could see it happening. This was um that was over 13 years ago, but I could see it, and I'm like, well, he's going to convince my kids that whatever his lies are true, and then hopefully as they get older they'll come back around. And it's
Mhm.
has happened. Oh my gosh, thank goodness, because you know now they're neutral in the middle, and that's where they should be. And so,
Exactly.
not the lies that their dad uh, told them about me, but to have your spirit worn down, is that's the ultimate to me. When your
Mhm.
light is gone, you
Exactly.
you 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 don't even know how you're getting up and going every morning. And I remember going to a therapist at one point after my youngest was born, because I just couldn't, my head was in a fog, and I realized it was postpartum, but I wasn't sure. I didn't know. I mean,
Mhm.
I knew of postpartum, but I didn't know what it felt like. So anyway, so I went to a therapist and started, talking to her. She was a lovely lady, and she gave me a prescription for like Wellbutrin or whatever. And I took it for about 2 weeks and I didn't feel any better. And so I quit taking it, and just, I never took any more drugs. I didn't like that feeling that I had. And so, but I think really what it was my spirit was worn down from the
Mhm.
relationship. And
Yeah, and I think you gave it a really good word, light. When your light is blown out, like who's going to light it back up? So our spirit is our light inside of us.
it is.
So that was a good analogy that you made.
Yeah. And you're just like, how am I
Yeah,
getting up every day? I don't even, I'm going
yeah,
through motions because my children need me, but, and I'm doing it for them. But if it wasn't for them, I don't know how I would just get up and keep going, because there just was nothing in it for me. The
right.
agency was 100% gone. I had no value in that relationship. And um,
Right.
so, a question for you. So, what was your breakup like?
Um, well, when he told me that he was thought he thought he was bisexual. He wanted to separate, but
Oh,
he had a lot of anxiety coming home that day and even on the phone, which was really weird because when I would call him at work, or he was like, he'd have, he'd be done with work, but he'd be like going out for dinner. He always rushed me through and like, I got to meet so-and-so in the lobby. We're going out for dinner. And then he never had time to talk to me. Well, this time he just kept, I don't know, reaching out. Well, when he came home, I honestly, looking back at it now, I think someone was going to out him. So I think someone that we knew found out what happened, that he was cheating and that something was going on. And I think, he was forced to tell me. So, and then it just got, I was so devastated, but I mean, again, like if he was bisexual and he could figure that out. And the weird part is that some mutual friends of ours kind of had gone through the same situation and they reconciled their marriage through that.
yeah.
Cause they when I started reading about stuff, people would be like, well, a man can be one woman away from being gay. So if they can truly just stay committed and focused on that marriage, they can try to, not go that way. Different thing. I don't know. So there's a lot of different things, but yeah, the divorce there was some ups and downs, but then we were really good friends, or we stayed friendly, and we would go on trips, like his boyfriend. And like I said, we celebrated Christmas with his boyfriend and his family. And I dated a guy for 2 years, and we went on vacation together, and, things were pretty good. And then the turning point was the guy I dated right after my marriage. We dated for 2 years. We broke up in September. We were still friendly, talked to each other, text. My kids were still texting him. And then he died in a snowmobile accident. And so it spiraled my ex-husband into this dark place because the kids were so devastated and so sad. Whoa. And because they, again, it's someone that was really fun and really nice guy. And so it spiraled my ex-husband to think, oh, if that would never have happened, if we had never gotten divorced, you would never have dated him. And then the kids wouldn't have known him. And then the kids wouldn't be so sad and devastated.
Oh, wow.
So then and then he started drinking heavily, and he used it. That was his excuse, because then he ended up in treatment, and that's what his amend was to me. But I think, so he couldn't deal with like that pain of seeing the kids so sad and depressed over that.
Right. Wow. Oh, goodness.
Yeah. So since then, he just distanced himself, and I've struggled financially, and then he's made it like, he's just in his mind has put that as all I cared about is his money and this, and, and just completely created these wedges that grew us apart.
Yeah. So with the divorce, with the financial struggle, did he give you much in the divorce? I mean,
he hadn't accumulated that much together at that point. A lot of his accumulation of assets came after we got divorced, because he moved 1,500 miles away. So we had no daily responsibility for kids or anything like that. It was, as he needed. And then the housing market had crashed. So we owned this house that we had like $800,000 into. And we just figured that maybe that would last 3 years. So I got 3 years of spousal support. And then I ended up stuck in that house for another 7 years. And it just financially, physically, emotionally just drained everything I had.
Yeah.
And I mean, he had the financial means to help us take care of it, but he didn't want to. So I was stuck doing that until I finally walked away and got out.
Wow. Oh, so yeah, because it's really common that narcissists, want to cut you off, even if you had been.
It's a control thing. They want to control you. Yeah.
If you'd been a stay-at-home mom, they don't care. They don't care that if you're left with nothing and you're devastated financially, because they've got to go in for the win. I mean, they've got to win. So I remember, when with my divorce, his attitude was, well, basically, I'm putting it in my words, but basically, you got off the happy bus, so you shouldn't get anything. And I'm like, well, that's kind of not how the court see it, the state sees it. So, and I was trying to be as amicable as possible because I didn't want to fight, right? I'm a peace lover, and I didn't want to fight. I'm like, look, all of our real estate, everything that we have built for the last 14 years, you keep it. You have it. You can have all of it. I don't want anything of it. I signed all of the deeds over to him. You can have it 100%. I just want a suitcase with my clothes and my belongings. And then I figured that we would work out all of the other incidental items and things in the house and the belongings and those things. But you know what, it got to where, and I had nowhere to go.
Right.
I had to go to a friend's house and sleep on the couch. So
right. How old were your kids?
High school and middle school.
Okay.
He told me that, I was like, well, why don't you go? Because we were by his family and I didn't have any family there in that state. And I said, well, why don't you go, stay at your brother's house? It's just a few miles away, and then we'll figure out a plan. He absolutely would not do that. His answer was for me to go to his parents' house.
Oh God. Right. We're on his side.
Seriously? Crazy. Well, they didn't even know. They didn't know. We didn't talk about it, right? Because the image is so important. And plus, in that religion, I was taught that, you don't complain and you don't, you just sort of keep this pretense up that, everything is fine because then everything will be fine. Well, it wasn't. And I didn't talk about it. So no one knew. But that was his answer, that I go stay with his parents. I'm like, are you kidding me? I go,
right.
Why don't you go stay with your parents? He goes, that's too far from my work. I can't go that far. Like, seriously? Like,
right.
we're partying here and you can't compromise in any way. So I'm like, well, there's not enough
inconvenience, right?
Or be inconvenienced, exactly. I'm like, well, there's not enough oxygen in this house. I'm already sleeping on the couch. Because I just could not sleep in the bed with him anymore. That was way too close. I was just done. And so I'm like, well, you need to sign these papers, and I'd already given him everything. So there was no reason not to sign. So I went to my girlfriend's house and I figured I'll just pack for 3 days and figure out a plan, And so he literally wanted to just give me nothing. And I said, we drew up the papers online. I should have gotten an attorney. I just thought, well, I don't have any money, right? Because he has
right. Exactly. And that's the other thing. They make you feel like it's not part of your money. Like, exactly. We built this together. Like I mean, the reason that he could do as well, I left my job, my executive jobs, to take care of the kids so that I could support him in his travel. And I got nothing for that,
Yeah. And that's exactly how they want it. It's so crazy. And this conversation is so validating because like I said, I haven't really had a place to be able to air this out because I'm not a victim. I don't feel like, even though, even based on the book, you are a victim, but I don't have victim consciousnesses, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I don't look at it. We can't be victims to a person that doesn't have the capacity to know what they're like. They don't have the capacity. I think about this, like my ex-husband, it's no different than having a special needs child or a physical, thing.
Well,
you cannot control that. This is a mental illness that they have no capacity to understand or deal with. I honestly, the two people that I know, they're like my ex-husband, my ex-boyfriend, very generous, very fun, very charismatic. People love to be around them. It's just, they don't have the capacity to understand this dynamic that they have in an intimate relationship. So they just have, surface relationships and can't have a
real genuine heart,
Yeah, genuine relationship. Yeah.
intimate relationship. Exactly. And that
Yeah.
that is why I did walk away, because there was no intimacy, that you couldn't be intimate. And I don't just mean sexual, I mean like be connected at the heart. That just wasn't there. And so
Yeah.
one thing she points out in her book is that narcissists move on very quickly.
Yeah.
They move on very quickly, and often before the breakup has even happened, they're already on to the next victim.
Yeah.
And that was another point where I had to stop the book, like put the book down, because holy cow. So here we are. We had started drawing up the divorce papers, and then he sat on them and kind of kept them hidden and everything, because that's not the right image that he's trying to portray. So anyway, I'm being as amicable as possible. I'm feeling so much better knowing that there's going to be an end to this turmoil in my life. And so I play very nice at the end. And like I said, we didn't argue. So it was a good 2 weeks or so before I had literally moved out. Well, I didn't know I was moving out. I really wanted him to move out, but like seriously, he stood his ground and wasn't gonna leave this house. And I'll tell you why, because this house was big and it had a lot of bedrooms and a lot of bathrooms, and it fit his image profile that he wanted.
Yeah.
And I don't care about the house. I mean, I don't care. I didn't want the house. I didn't want the neighborhood. I didn't want any of that. So I didn't even want to live in that state. So I didn't want that, but I just wanted him to go. But I think he saw that then I would have leverage if I stayed. So anyway, 2 weeks before it was all finalized and signed and everything, he was online at one of these churchy dating services. Here he is in our home.
Oh my gosh.
We're raising our kids. He's in his office. He got a whole room that's just his office. This was never my office. I mean, I did do, our bills and whatnot in there on the computer, but really it was his office. So he was in there. He's pulling up this website, Finding Women to Date. I'm home. My daughter walks in and sees it. And it's just like, okay, we need to have a conversation here. I mean, I wanted him to move on. Please move on, because I'm already gone. We're not, the love is gone. We're done. But please move on. But could you not be more discreet and not do it in the middle of the day, like right with the kids are right there?
Right.
What is that?
I know.
Holy hell, that was an eye opener for me. And
because they don't have any boundaries. They don't have.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No empathy whatsoever. So that's another characteristic that I wanted to point out, that, here's your sign if you think that you are with a narcissist.
Right.
Because how they look to others is such a huge priority. And Debbie says that actually, this was very interesting, I thought. So I wanted to point it out. She said that that these narcissists are full of silent rage, and they're not happy, and they never will be on the inside. And there is zero empathy. And that they portray happiness, but never have that true deep sense of happiness on the inside. And that it's just a show. And
right. So they're always chasing the next high.
Yep. And
that's good.
Crazier is that they don't want you to be happy. So this partner that's been in their life for however long, or whatever commitments you've made together, they don't want you happy. And that was so huge. As I got stronger as a person, as a woman, the more I started standing up for myself, the worse he got. His craziness got worse. He would use things against me, like my biggest vulnerabilities. He would use those things against me and attack me verbally with my things. And so it was just really difficult to deal with. She talks in the book a little bit about how, well, they're done with you, right? Because once you start getting into your power and you stand up for yourself, or even just energetically, I think, feeling more empowered, that threatens them.
Mm-hmm.
Now they've got to change their tactic, right, to control you. So they're going to have to attack you in some way, and that is 100% what my husband did. 100% just started all of these attacks, smear campaign, and when I had nothing to say other than the love was gone. It wasn't an attack. It wasn't anything about him, even though I did feel like he killed it for me. He killed the love, as squished it. Maybe it was never there. I don't know. I mean, I think he tried to love me, but he just isn't capable. But
Yeah.
but they truly, like, as far as our divorce, what I realized, the narcissist does not want you happy on
Mm-hmm.
any terms whatsoever. They don't want
Right.
you happy. And so, and she said actually in the book that this can go on for years. And I don't know, because I started to heal after my divorce. I started to heal and really learn to love myself and not
Mm-hmm.
myself through his lenses,
Me
because
too.
I wasn't that person. I never was
Right.
that person.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe that I allowed someone to diminish my value, and it'll never happen again, obviously.
Right.
So, I learned that hot stove is hot.
Right.
But it can go on for years. And so I think as we unite together and share our stories, that we can, uplift one another and be like, okay, I'm not crazy. I'm really okay. And
Right.
it's safe for me to be me. And it is safe for me to be me in this relationship. And if it creates a parting, then it creates a parting. But I shouldn't have to hide my light anymore.
Right.
And
Exactly.
and be shushed and shut down my beautiful vocal cords, and not be authentic and just
Right.
be who I am. So, and we touched a little bit on the money, because she talks about that in the book as well, that they love to control you, and that's just another way of
Yeah.
controlling you, that they want to leave you with absolutely nothing. And
Mm-hmm.
that was my experience. And I looking back, I kind of let him, because I just wanted some peace. I just wanted out, and I kind of let him take advantage. And I realized he was hiding money, and I don't know what that's all about, but he was hiding money when I was always trying to have a bigger grocery budget for the family. And
Right.
we've got kids to feed.
Exactly. Yeah.
Seriously, it's not like I'm lavishly spending money. I was budget conscious. But anyway, I realized he hid money, and I think he had money that I didn't know about after the divorce. And it's just, oh well, I don't care, it's just money. But it was
Yeah.
just,
Exactly.
again, another layer of just this
Right.
person.
But part of what we're kind of trying to do together is create a support group.
Absolutely. 100%.
So I think of so many people that can use the support and really understanding this, the disease of narcissism and the layers of it.
Yes. And because it is very tragic. It's very difficult to be in. And, I do want, I can't support everyone, but at least women, I want us to have a place to go to. And, it's so important for me to just keep going, to keep doing this, to keep having these conversations, to keep, having a safe space to
Mm-hmm.
be raw and to be authentic and to just feel like you're supported and fortified, really, honestly. I want women to feel fortified when they're done
Yes.
listening. So
Yes.
anyway, well, thank you for coming. Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for you. I think
Yeah, thank you.
many conversations in the future about relationships, love, and a sense of empowerment as a woman. And I appreciate your support.
Yeah, I love this. That's great. I'm really anxious to read this book now too. So
Yeah,
I'm even gonna probably listen to it on tape and get out for some walks and get it.
Yes.
Sounds really good. Thank you.
I do. I highly recommend it.
I've been looking for something because I read a narcissist book like 15 years ago and I cannot remember the name of the book, but it was really, really good. And so thank you for introducing me to this book.
Yeah. So we'll provide a link. We'll have it linked below so that others can get to it too, because I found it very helpful. And yeah, just supporting others. I mean, that's really what it's all about. And we appreciate you coming to the patio for the Shady Ladies podcast.
Thank you.